Hello friends, very good afternoon greetings to all of you. Here I Kunal Nagpal feel immense pleasure to welcome you guys to this great economic forum. Dear guys, as we have entered into this new year 2023 and today being the third day of this year, that is 3rd January 2023, I really have some great piece of information to share with you. It's really a very good news. That is, it is pertaining to our manufacturing sector, that is the secondary sector of our Indian economy. The factory activity rises to 13-month high in the month of December, driven by a strong jump in factory orders and production. India's manufacturing activity rose to a 13-month high in December 2022, which supported the job creation, a private survey showed on Monday, that is on 1st January 2023. The seasonally adjusted S&P Global India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index rose to 57.8 in December from 55.7 in November 2022 as the business conditions improved in 2 years. Here I would like to bring to your note that a reading above 50 shows expansion, while a score below 50 indicates contraction. December was the 18th straight month of India's factory activity expansion. With overall demand remaining conducive of growth, the manufacturers scaled up production at the end of 2022 and the upturn in output was sharp and the best seen since November 2021. Following a promising start to 2022, the Indian manufacturing industry maintained a strong performance as the time progressed, wrapping the year with the best expansion in production seen since November 2021, said Poliana De Lima, Economics Associate Director at S&P Global Market Intelligence. The PMI average for the third fiscal quarter was at 56.3, the highest recorded since a year ago. Demand resilience boosted sales growth in December, with the rate of increase picking up to the quickest since February 2021. As per the survey report, the factors that supported sales growth include advertising, product diversification, and favorable economic conditions. Hiring activity was stretched to December with more inputs which were acquired as the firms sought to supplement production and add to their inventories. Here, my friends, I would like to quote that the favorable economic conditions basically mean that the Indian economic conditions are quite favorable. If we do the comparative analysis with the economic conditions prevailing in the global scenario as a whole, because the Indian economy is faring quite well with respect to the economies across the globe. Less challenging supply chain conditions also supported the upturn. Delivery times were reportedly stable, which enabled the firms to secure critical materials and boost the input stocks, De Lima said. On the exports front, the new orders rose at the slowest pace in 5 months. While some may question the resilience of the Indian manufacturing industry in 2023 amid a deteriorating outlook for the global economy, the manufacturers were strongly confident in their ability to lift production from the present levels, Lima said. And now I would like to do the overall analysis of the growth of PMI, which significantly shows that the manufacturing is at the growing side. In January, the PMI was 54, followed with 54.9 in February, 54 in March, 54.7 in April, 54.6 in May, 53.9 in June, 56.4 in July, 56.2 in August, 55.1 in September, 55.3 in October, 55.7 in November, and finally 57.8 in December, which is actually the highest. So the fastest rise in new orders since 2021 February has been the main contributory factor. The manufacturers scale up production at the end of 2022, that is 57.8 in the month of December. The international demand growth slows for November. This is the main highlight which I would like to bring to your notice. Moreover, I would like to state that that from January to December, the PMI has been above 50, which indicates expansion. Now, after this insightful and encouraging discussion, I would like to move towards another aspect, that is green energy, data centers and edutech are the areas of future. The green energy, data centers, edutech and Sufin, that is L&T's e-commerce platform, are actually the areas of future that engineering, procurement and construction major L&T's needs to be sharp and smart about, said Mr. S.N. Subramanian, CEO, Larsen and Toubro, in his New Year message to 50,000 employees on Monday, that is on 2nd January 2023. We actually need to remain competitive and relevant in the emerging business landscape and be sharp and smart in areas that are relatively new to us, like green energy, data centers, edutech and Sufin, said Mr. Subramanian, adding that these businesses will actually stretch L&T immediately but have an adverse immense future and are to be pursued with great vigor. In 2022, among others, the company's power transmission and distribution business won sizable orders in the Middle East also. The division secured the world's largest solar and related transmission facilities for the futuristic and visionary NEOM city in Saudi Arabia. L&T's Minerals and Metals arm won an order from ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India to carry out AMNS expansion plans in Gujarat and Odisha. Going ahead, Mr. Subramanian said the company's focus will be actually to remain on the green supply chain management, circular economy, and biodiversity conservation. The company plans to achieve the water neutrality by 2035 and carbon neutrality by 2040. The company cumulatively saved 150 million kilowatt hour of energy equivalent to powering 70,000 homes in a year and avoided the emissions of 47,000 TCO2e in 2022, equivalent to planting 5 lakh trees, it said. In the company's growth plans, the talent management will be key, said Mr. Subramanian, adding that traditionally the infrastructure and manufacturing space has witnessed lower participation by women, but at L&T, some of the key projects are led by women and the company is basically encouraged to do more on this front. The company's scrip ended at 2,088.80 rupees, up 0.12% on the Bombay Stock Exchange. Monday, benchmark Sensex was up 0.54%. Now, this is again really the fantastic news which we have just discussed. Now, my dear friends, I would like to throw some light on the Supreme Court's decision to uphold 2016 demonetization call. The Supreme Court has basically upheld the centre's decision to cancel 500 rupees and 1000 rupees currency notes at 4 hours notice on November 8, 2016. The Supreme Court has upheld the centre's decision to cancel 500 rupees and 1000 rupees currency notes at 4 hours notice on November 8, 2016. A 5-member constitution bench headed by the Justice Abdul Nazir found no flaws in the decision-making process of the central bank in the 4-1 ruling on Monday. It can't be said there was no conscious, effective, meaningful and purposeful consultation between the government and the Reserve Bank of India before demonetization decision, the bench said. In her dissenting judgment, Justice B.V. Nagaratna said the move had been unlawful. Demonetization, when proposed by the government rather than the RBI Central Board, is a far more serious issue. The vast powers of the centre have to be exercised only through a plenary legislation, she said. The majority judgment authored by Justice B.R. Gavai said the 2016 notification of demonetization satisfies the test of proportionality. It also said the period, that is 52 days, provided for exchange of notes wide the notification cannot be said to be unreasonable. Very well justified. The Constitution Bench ruled the matter of demonetization was under active consideration for 6 months between the Reserve Bank of India and the government, having examined the records pertaining to the move. The bench found little force in the contention of the petitioners that the proposal of demonetization under the RBI Act should have emanated from the central bank and not the centre. As such, merely because the central government has advised the RBI Central Board to consider recommending demonetization and that the Central Board, on the advice of the government, has considered the proposal for demonetization and recommended it, and thereafter the government has taken a decision. So in our view, it cannot be a ground to hold that the procedure prescribed under Section 26 of the RBI Act was actually breached, the ruling said. The two sides would have consulted each other, that is, the central government and the RBI would have consulted each other according to the bench. Both the central board, that is the RBI, while making the recommendation, and the government, while taking the decision, have taken into consideration all the relevant factors, read the judgment. It cannot be expected that the Reserve Bank of India and the government will act in two isolated boxes. It is not possible actually. An element of interaction or consultation in such important matters and in such which are actually strategically important, of deep concern to the entire economy, pertaining to the economic and monetary policies, cannot be denied to the RBI and the central government. The majority view held that the Central Board of RBI had taken into consideration the relevant factors while recommending the withdrawal of legal tender of banknotes in the denomination of 500 rupees and 1000 rupees of existing and any older series in circulation. The bench said the central bank, that is the RBI, had a plan to cause the least difficulty to the people of the country as possible. Similarly, all the relevant factors were placed for consideration before the cabinet when it took the decision to demonetize, it said. It is to be noted that a draft scheme to implement the proposal for the demonetization in a non-disruptive manner with as little inconvenience to the public and business entities as possible was also prepared by the Reserve Bank of India, along with the recommendation for demonetization. The same was also taken into consideration by the cabinet. Just because the process caused public misery doesn't make it bad in law. No doubt that on account of demonetization, the citizens were faced with hardships, the bench said. If the impunged notification on demonetization had a nexus with the objectives to be achieved, then merely because some citizens have suffered through the hardships would not be a ground to hold the impunged notification to be bad in law. The bench cited a previous Supreme Court judgment to buttress this. It further held that individual interests must yield to the larger interests of the community or the country, as indeed every noble cause claims its martyr, it said. There had been a quorum of directors on the central board to decide on the demonetization aspect, it said. The bench said there was the limited scope for the judicial view in matters of economic policy. The problems of the government are actually quite practical ones, and many may justify. If they do not require rough accommodations, illogical it may be and unscientific, it said. But even such criticism should not be hastily expressed. It has been held that what is best is not always discernible, and the wisdom of any choice may be disrupted or condemned. It has been held that mere errors of the government are not subject to judicial view. It is only the palpably arbitrary exercises which can be declared void. In any case, the mere errors of judgment by the government seen in retrospect are not subject to judicial review. Observing that it does not possess the expertise to go into the issue, the bench held that if the action of the government has a basis with the objectives to be achieved, it cannot be declared as palpably arbitrary. So what are the key highlights of the majority ruling? The center advising the Central Board of RBI cannot be the ground to hold that procedure prescribed under the RBI Act was breached. Also, it cannot be expected that the RBI and center will act in two isolated boxes. It is actually not possible. Also, we can't deny the element of interaction or consultation in such important matters. Moreover, the Central Board of RBI and government have taken into consideration all the relevant factors. Furthermore, demonetization was under the active consideration of RBI government for 6 months. So this is really an in-depth analysis which basically makes us clear that why the Supreme Court has upheld the center's decision to cancel 500 rupees and 1000 rupees currency notes at 4 hours notice on November 8, 2016. Furthermore, dear friends, let's discuss some more economic news. The main headlines. The rice prices up 15%, palm oil seen rising too. The rice and palm oil are actually becoming more expensive in India. In the last 1 month, the price of rice has basically increased by up to 15%, while that of palm oil is seen rising by 5 to 7 rupees a liter in the coming weeks. SCI sell-off to set sail with road shows from the next week, that is from 9th January onwards. The government is likely to kickstart the road shows to privatize the Shipping Corporation of India next week, offering its entire 63.75% equity in the state-run cargo carrier. The railways aims to save 630 million units of electricity by the financial year 2030. The Indian Railways aims to gradually reduce the usage of fossil fuel generated electricity for its non-traction loads by up to 630 million units by 2029-30, equivalent to 0.51 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions, according to its energy efficiency plan. Philippines restore air traffic control after the power outage. The Philippines restored the air traffic control operations after hundreds of flights were cancelled or diverted following the technical issues that forced the authorities to close the country's airspace. So, dear friends, after discussing these strategically important matters pertaining to the economy as a whole, I would like to conclude today's session. So, I'm really of the opinion that you guys have been able to absorb the real gist of the content which we have discussed, and hence it would have been able to enhance and embrace your overall knowledge set with the precious knowledge assets. So, I would like to bid a farewell to the current session. So, dear guys, I once again would like to remind you of subscribing to my YouTube channel so that you keep getting notified with important economic matters which we are discussing on this amazing platform. So, I also wish you all take very good care of yourselves until we meet next. It's actually getting more and more colder with each passing day. So please wrap up yourselves with the warm clothes and keep yourselves cozy with your best possible level, at your best possible level. Thank you so much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.